Hello, friends, and welcome to another thrilling, captivating, educational, informative, exciting, entertaining, hilarious, serious, solemn, important episode of Talking with Famous People. It's all of those things and more. Today we're asking the pressing question, what's that thing you're holding? I'm curious. What is it? Looks like a ball of green and pink fire in the thumbnail. Anyhow, I'm live streaming right now because I was watching a live stream before, and I decided, why watch one when you could make one? And so here I am. Nothing to say in particular, except to express my overarching curiosity about what that thing you're holding is. Might be a baby tiger. In which case, watch out. They've got sharp teeth. It's a good point, Eric, you might be saying right now. That would make sense. So anywho, life's a funny thing, they say. Do they say anything else, Eric? Oh, they say a few different things. I mean, they actually say quite a bit of things. Quite a few things, yeah. But the most important of the things they say are the things that I say. That's where truth, justice, and the American way comes from. Eric's mouth. And today I'm telling you the truth about what that thing you're holding is. Namely, that I don't know what that thing you're holding is. Which is why I'm asking the question. Rachel's here. Hi, Lady Lou. Rachel's sitting over there. We've got the setup now. It's not really conducive to as easily. Hey, Jeremy. Long time no talk to you. How you doing? Jeremy's an INTJ.
Oh, cool.
That means he's always this close to becoming a supervillain. That's how INTJs are.
True that.
Yeah.
This close.
This close to becoming a supervillain. Well, ask. Okay, I like that. That's both positive and vague. Adding esque to the end of anything increases its vagary by 10%. The vagary you bring into my life is beautiful. Those are good song lyrics.
Pretty poetic.
Others may call you confusing, but to me, you're beautifully vague. Those are good country lyrics. Well, he's an INTJ, so they each have their own unique form of supervillainy. I don't know. Obviously, he's a very, very secret, so I don't know exactly which supervillainry. Supervillainry, not supervillainy. I guess supervillainy is more of an adjective I don't know, dude. That plan's kind of super villainy. Or super villainry would be the what's that word I'm looking for? The ephemera. The ephemera of supervillains. Is it your penis, Karma's Pimp? I bet that's what it is. I think that's what Karma's Pimp's holding. So, yeah, within, under the general heading of supervillaindom, there are supervillains, and the stuff they do is supervillainy, or supervillainesque. And the totality of said behaviors comprise supervillainry. Supervillain finalia are the various laser rays and weather control machines that the supervillains use. That's referred to as supervillain finalia. In some states, it's illegal to even be in possession of supervillain finalia. .21 gigabytes. Why don't you go Tera? Why stick with Giga? But as long as they don't lose what's precious to them, the INTJ remains in a state of supervillain dormancy. Supervillain dormancy. But as soon as they lose that which is precious to them, they'll do anything to get it back, including raise the dead. Or rise the dead. Either one. That's how all that bullshit happened in well, what comes after Terra? I don't know. Guga? A Googleplex? Exa? Oh. But if you watch the Netflix show Dark, it's a German show made by German people speaking German. And it's about this INTJ, I think we can conclude, who ends up making a time machine to try to bring back his dead son, daughter-in-law, and granddaughter, and ends up causing the apocalypse, you know. That's your textbook INTJ move. Be fine until you lose something that's precious to you, and then justify all sorts of supervillainry based on the irrepressible desire to get that back. That's the quintessential INTJ supervillain origin story. I'm gonna go refill my coffee. I'm currently scooping creamer into my coffee. I want you guys to have the play-by-play. So even though you can't see it, it's like radio announcing.
That's what I make it.
I am become love, destroyer of worlds. Well, at the end of Dark, of course, what the in order to save the world from the apocalypse, the two characters Jonas and Martha have to go back in time and save the INTJ's son and daughter-in-law and granddaughter before they go off die in a crash by going off of a bridge on a rainy night. They have to go back in time and save them in advance, and that's the only way to prevent the INTJ from destroying the world, is to basically give him what he wants without him knowing he has lost it in the first place. That's how they save the world. And they have to sacrifice their own existence to do so, Martha and Jonas. But, you know, the clockmaker guy, the INTJ character who's, you know, he gets critiqued by his son for caring more about Einstein-Rosen bridges than his own family. But really, as Martha and Jonas tell the son at the end, your father loves you so much that he would do anything for you, including causing the apocalypse. So, you know, that's the INTJ conundrum. They don't necessarily love the people in their lives the way that the people in their lives want to be loved, but they sure do love them a lot.
I think the character Mark Darcy, or Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice, is an INTJ because his way of saying I love you was to point out every little thing that like annoyed him about her. Yeah.
That's
like,
a poor way of telling someone that you love them.
It really is. Like, your family is poor, your sister can play piano a little bit, like what?
I'm helping correct what's wrong with you, of course. It's what I call love. You could be optimized in the following ways.
Exactly. Optimization.
I'm just playing INTJs. You know I love ya.
Yeah.
You're not really supervillains.
And I've learned they supervise. Yeah.
Look at this cup, you guys.
Funky.
Reggie, you gotta show everybody the cup. This is pretty exciting stuff. That's what that cup looks like when there's heat applied. What does it say? It says Baja California, Laredo. Anyway, my client, you can go through here if you want.
Thank you.
So my clients gave us those cups, and when it doesn't have hot stuff in it, it just looks super plain. Like, this is the blue one without any hot stuff in it. Okay? It just looks like this without any hot stuff in it. And that one looks just like this one except red without any hot stuff in it. So it's like there's no, this is just as unremarkable as this when it doesn't have hot liquids in it.
Pretty fun. I'd like to go to Baja.
Answer to the question, where did you get it? Probably Baja California. My clients got them for us as a present. And I actually wanted a short called Magical Cup Brightens Your Day. And I'm going to do Magical Cup Brightens Your Day Part 2. Because I did that one. But I'm going to do the blue one too. It got like 2,000 views. My video in which I just say a short that I just said, the problem with understanding is that it doesn't correlate well with doing things. It doesn't correlate strongly with doing things or something like that. That one, that one got a couple thousand views too. I was happy to see. I need to continue making shorts because they really improve my view numbers and my sub rate too. Although I think I only retain a certain percentage of those subs from shorts because, I'm not primarily that, but I do retain some of them. The thing is, I'm feeling kind of, I would say, it's mixed meh is my general state of being right now. Hello, Yo-Yo. Mixed meh. That's what I'm feeling. The other thing is that I've taken away from watching that show Dark, which was mostly rather confusing. Yeah, thanks, Yo-Yo. Appreciate that. Anyway, one thing I took away from that show is, oh, I'm German. These are my people. It was weird. I've never experienced that before. It was part of why I've always said race is ridiculous. It's insane. It's stupid. But when I watch that show and I watch those people, it's like there's some part of me that is imprinted with Germanity. I don't know how else to say it. It's just an NI thing. It doesn't really matter, I guess, but it was weird. It's a weird experience watching these German people acting and feeling like, oh, that's where I belong somehow. It's weird. I'm definitely Germanic, and like Rachel was saying, she's definitely like Englishy.
Yeah, I'm more of the English Irish side.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like, if she had an Irish accent, it would sound natural on her, right? If I had a German accent,
yes,
it would sound natural on me.
Yeah.
And it's like it's almost like how my mouth and voice are constructed or something. So, I get why people are attracted to those groupist notions sometimes that there are meaningful distinctions to be made. There aren't meaningful distinctions to be made, but there is some NI to it. Now that I have personally experienced it, I accept that there's some NI to it. Oh, we had the most crazy experience earlier in terms of like demonstrating the difference between cognitive functions NE-DOM, NI-DOM, okay? So, here's what happened. Rachel made an appointment. I'll address your question in a little bit, one of the dominant elites. But, okay. Neurologist. So she has an appointment with a neurologist. She got an appointment for the neurologist after the psychiatrist, but I want her to go to the neurologist before the psychiatrist. So we called them back today. But the thing is, we tried calling them back last night, and what happened was when we called it, it was just like this weird, like busy signal sound, and we couldn't get through it all. And then we tried again once this morning, and it just rang, and nobody answered. So at that point, I said, okay, well, let's take the information we have and figure out what phone number to call. And so we listened to the voice message again, and the lady says, Dr. Moshi. So I Googled Dr. Moshi, and neurologist, and I get this neurologist in Lodi, which is up above Santa Barbara. It's quite some distance from us. It's a few hours away. It wouldn't be somebody that Dr. Ingram would have referred us to. So that doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, Let me check the area code. Okay, the area code Wilshire, West LA area. Let me Google Neurologist, West LA area, and sure enough, I pop up this Dr. Motion, and so I go, okay, well this must be the one, and let's call this number. And Rachel says, no, let me try the number a fourth time because she definitely said Dr. Moshi, and I'm like. But she, okay, well, go ahead, and she calls it again, and they answer, and of course, she was right. It was Dr. Moshi. She had the right number. We just needed to call it again. But my SI, 3 times failing, means there's something wrong with that, and we need to try something else. Now, my NETE was great. I came up with a perfect thing. I found a neurologist whose name sounded almost exactly like the one we were looking for on Wilshire, near where Dr. Ingram is. That must be it. Nope. NI versus NE. Well, are methadone clinics ethical? Yeah. They don't shoot up. They actually know a lot about it because I dated somebody who was who's in a methadone program. So, NETI, I thought I was intuitive killing it. I thought I was fucking killing it right there. That's some great demonstrative TE with extroverted intuition and a little introverted intuition into the mix, and I got it. Here it is. We worked around this bad number issue. Well, of course, there wasn't a bad number issue, and if I had used NI, I would have said, but that is the number that they called her from. She had had a conversation with them over that phone number before, so maybe that's an important factor, right? Thanks, Alec T. I'll take your advice on that. I'll definitely take your advice on that and clip that thing out. Have to take out the little methadone stuff there. Because that's not really relevant. Anyway, the methadone thing is, if you look at it from the perspective of an opiate addict, it's what they do instead of selling their body or something like that, That's how it plays out. And they don't shoot it up. It's these wafers that they take. It's okay. It's fine. These wafers they take that are like these long, slow-acting opiates, and they have to increase the amount. They gradually increase the amount that they get, and then there's a maximum amount they can get. And if you get to that maximum, then it's like. Well, it's like they have to be careful not to use up their supply before the end of the month, or else you get sick at the end of the month, So that's the bottom line. It's like when they can't afford to buy street opiates anymore, then there's an alternative to crime and prostitution. No, I don't want to retell it. I'd rather just edit it. It won't be much editing. It's just a little bit. I have to edit it anyway, so it's not a big deal. But it is interesting, and that's how NI is going to beat NE when Rachel, bring your cup over again, though. Look, everybody.
Yeah, so this is how
she finished her coffee, and now it went back to this. Cool,
so
huh?
Cool.
I mean, the thing about methadone is, it's more or less a free market solution that takes advantage of certain legal justifications that the government uses to control substances, to provide a sort of a public-private partnership solution to people who want to not live the lifestyle of a street drug addict anymore, but either are unwilling or unable to quit that drug. You know, it's a realistic, pragmatic thing that exists in the reality of the fundamentally ill-advised seizure of control over substances by the government. I mean, the thing is, it's not necessarily fundamentally ill-advised for the government to control some of these substances, but it is fundamentally ill-advised to create black markets like that, you know? So it's a tricky question. As population density grows, you know, libertarian style questions have to be dealt with on a more pragmatic level, and it's where the ideology starts to break down. You know, when the capacity of people's actions is maximally increased by technology in terms of its capacity to impact a large amount of other individuals, then there has to be some sort of, it would suggest some sort of mechanism of constraining people's ability to attain that by some sort of legitimacy determining metric, you know? Like, the reason that limiting individuals' access to military-grade weaponry, the reason behind it is that... Did you hurt your thumb, Rachel?
LOL. Yes, I did.
How did you hurt it? What happened?
I was opening up like a razor, and I slit it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
That's alright.
Is the collective unconscious a storyteller? No, storytellers tell the story of something called the collective unconscious. And the way they build that story is by seeking out components with the most universal resonance and establishing linkages between meanings between people who have different particular experiences to infer that there's some sort of collective unconscious. The thing is, we are hardwired to be human beings, which means certain aspects of human relations are hardwired into us. But the problem with the idea of a collective unconscious is it suggests that there's some sort of metaphysical connectivity between individuals that there isn't. So, in fact, I share no consciousness with you, and I share no unconsciousness with you. We have commonalities in our storytelling components. No, it's her thumb.
Yeah, it's a Band-Aid.
It's the thumb on her left hand.
I had an accident with the razor.
My point about libertarianism is that an individual autonomy-based calculus and a rights-based calculus is the most fundamentally sound kind of reasoning to apply towards the relationship between individuals and governance. But it doesn't pragmatically play out well as population density increases. And it doesn't pragmatically play out well as technological advancement causes individual action to have greater scope of impact. So, for example, the advent of cars in factories and stuff made the communal impacts of individual behavior much more acute. In other words, the smoke doesn't stay where your factory is. And yet, libertarianism by itself doesn't really have implicit in it mechanisms to account for the fact that there's an artificial kind of representation of how impacts work that underlies the purely rights-based or autonomy-based frame of reference. And that basically what we're really always arguing about is a relationship between concentration of harm versus diffusion of harm, and concentration of good versus diffusion of good. But then the other thing that we're talking about is system integrity versus situational pragmatism. So the reality, unfortunately, is that the best we can do is to minimize the extent to which situational pragmatism and system integrity conflict. And the best strategy is to say, when we have to be situationally pragmatic, let's try to find ways to do it that don't impact system integrity negatively. If we have to impact system integrity negatively, let's do so in ways with diminishing returns rather than in other words, let's not set precedent in case law that cause this shit to just maximally continue reinforcing its own bullshit, right? So the answer is, how do we resolve this without any singularly dominant frame while continuing to be non-arbitrary, which is to say, while it might be the case that a limiting principle has to be sacrificed in some instances, if that's the case, then it's not really a limiting principle anymore, and your choice of when to do it and when to not do it, when to apply it and when to not apply it, makes every application of it fundamentally arbitrary, okay? So the answer is you have to have meta-rationalism, which is to say there has to be a third element in the Trinity, a third dimensionality to it that makes things make sense, and that basically is some appeal to an unchanging moral law that is upheld to some extent best by recognizing both the necessity of a universal integrity and the necessity of frequently sacrificing that. And that only a true meta-rationalist is qualified to govern, is the other takeaway. I mean, what we have to do is allow for the fact that we have to pragmatically respect communitarian values in ways that minimally negatively impact our capacity to sustain a thriving civilization that can respect communitarian values safely, right? Because there's always a conflict between the two. If you look at healthcare right now, it's such an absolute disaster that it's sucking the entire life out of the economy, frankly. As is evidenced by everything that Rachel and I have done so far. How much money have we not personally spent on those tests in the emergency room because she has New York insurance that emergency room takes? Who knows? Who knows what they charged them? To do what? for the doctor to have the opportunity to smugly say it first, that psychiatrist got this diagnosis wrong. These symptoms aren't consistent with that. I'm going to do a test to prove that I'm right. And then when the test doesn't prove she's right, she goes, well, fuck it then, go home. I guess I'm no longer interested in this. And that's what happened, right?
Yeah.
That's what happened. So how fucked up is healthcare? Incredibly. That's a situation where we've said situational pragmatism must always take precedence over system integrity. And as a consequence, it's all fucked up. It's all fucked up. There's no framing going on there. Nobody's saying there's a client who's paying for a service. When you have that, things are clear. You know? Let's say let's imagine a scenario where your insurance is going to pay me $100 a week to meet with you once a week to talk to you about your personality type. Boy, it sure is going to take me a long time to figure out what your type is. It's going to take me such a long time. It might take me years, decades even, to figure out your personality type. As long as you've got this insurance that keeps paying me $100 a week to sit down and chat with you, I mean, why not? I think you're this, but I'll be 100% sure with, another 100 hours or so. I mean, think about it, right? Because the client's like, hey, I've got this pay somebody meow per meow thing. Anybody want to take advantage of it? Oh, I will. I'll take advantage of it. They're going to pay me meow per meow for indefinitely. Okay, great. Right, well, that's what happened with Rachel. She's been 10 years being treated by health insurance strategies, and was in a continual state of sort of fixed, sort of getting better, sort of broken, sort of whatever, And then we hire a private psychiatrist that we decide on by researching which doctor we want rather than which one takes our insurance, right? Researching which doctor looks best and that we want rather than which one take our insurance, okay? And bam, he fucking cured her. I mean, we paid out of pocket, cost us $1,000 or whatever, but well worth it. And how much had the insurance paid for nothing for years? Way, way more than that, I'll tell you. Way more than that. My neighbor studied in India and he wants to give me an elephant. Elephants are not good gifts.
No, that is not a good gift.
Elephants do not make good gifts. Is a good saying, I think,
that is
in
a
general.
Good saying.
Yeah. Well, there's no disputing that there was a vested interest in Mercy General, or whatever it was called, where Rachel used to go. There was a vested interest in them keeping her on an ongoing program. Even though she didn't need one, she was stuck in this ongoing cannabis addiction treatment program, which was it's just purely insane, right? Because she's not saying to anybody, I have a problem with marijuana. Everybody else is saying to her, you can't smoke marijuana, and if you do, you have a problem with it. How does an ENFP argue? Emotionally. But sometimes they're exactly the right person. When we talked to Rachel's dad the other day, he was absolutely perfect. And made me understand the limitations of ENTP as well. You know, it's like there are relational things that need to be dealt with introverted feeling, and I'm not very good at that. So yeah, I feel very blessed to have an ENFP in the family. I'm Rachel's family, you know. Because around here, life's mostly arguing about public policy, typology, and other kind of shit, right? But that's around here. In most of life, life's about actual things, not about my words versus your words, you know?
Yeah, like, yeah. We're discussing metaphysical things.
Right. So around here, it's really important that our words be right. But on the emotional level, it is too. The question is whether the topic is one, you know, whose rightness is situationally appropriate. So if we're talking about some sort of public policy issue, then my words are situationally appropriate. But if we're talking about, you know, Rachel's family and problems between me and her family, or mom and her family, and Rachel, and etc., then we need somebody who's attending on the FI grounds that need to be attended on.
Can I just say that I have had, so I listen to, you know, pick a card tarot readers on YouTube, and so many of them have come up with, like, leaving behind, like, people from the past. I just think it's kind of slabby, and I don't think that it's, like, a total leave behind. Like, you know, I just got an invitation to my cousin's bridal shower. Like, I think I'll still get, like, you know, happy birthdays.
Yeah, I don't think your mom's disowning of you counts for shit. And that's what the ENFP made clear. You know, the ENFP dad. And, you know, he loves Rachel so much, and I thank him for that, and I appreciate that. Did I ever take ecstasy? Yeah. I got good MDMA one time. I took it like 5 or 6 times, and only one time did I get the actual, like, full, just as promised experience. And it, as promised, it made me feel like an angel. We were we were camping. We were camping at Joshua Tree, and the ranger came over to yell at us for having too many cars. And I went up to him and I was like, "Oh my God, you're a forest ranger. That must be so great. You must just, you're a forest ranger. Dude, wow." And you were like, "Eric, get over here. Eric, come over here."
They say you love everything when you're on E.
Yeah, I was just so, like, delighted that this guy had this great job of being a forest ranger.
That is a cool job.
But he was there to yell at us for having too many cars.
Oh my gosh, that's such an Eric story.
So, that's my experience with ecstasy. That was a long time ago. You saw Joyce Mann crying because of what I did to her the other day? I didn't do anything to her. I told the truth about her shitty typing. Sorry. That's not doing something to her. It's reality landing with a thud. I don't mean to hurt no feelings, but sometimes I do. And this is what they call FI polar. at its finest. Yeah, it's like Eminem says in that song, I don't want to hurt no feelings, but nobody want to hear that old guy rap. Yeah. He was talking about Benzino.
Oh.
Whose only claim to fame is getting annihilated by Eminem in a sequence of 2 diss tracks.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't hurt intentionally. I may have been callously negligent in attending to that, but I didn't hurt intentionally. I wasn't thinking about her at all when I said it. I was thinking about these words. Joyce Mang said meow, and how wrong they were so often. So I guess it's fair to say I wish I had been less hurtful if I was hurtful.
Sometimes the truth hurts, though. Does it not? I mean...
Yeah, but I don't have to express it as harshly as I did at that point. But I express it that way because that's how I felt at the moment, you know?
Yeah.
Bipolar means you're kind of a baby with your own feelings, too.
You're also
Like,
an
it's
eight.
how I felt at the moment.
Yeah.
It's like I had just gotten out of a couple of typing sessions where somebody had said, at the end of them, Joyce Mang said, yeah. And it was totally wrong and nonsense, and that's how I felt at the moment, irritated by it, you know? So I expressed it accordingly. Ought I have taken more care? Probably. Will I in the future? I want to say yes.
Oh, yes, oh, yes.
But I bet you the answer is incrementally, maybe. I'll be more careful about it. I try to be. I don't want to hurt people. That's why I stopped doing type police. I don't want to hurt people's feelings. And when I find out late, it's like it didn't even occur to me to think about her feelings being hurt until you brought it up right now. You know? So that's why I stopped doing type police. Because people's feelings got hurt and it makes me feel guilty and bad and sad. But I don't even think about it until somebody tells me. So I appreciate you telling me, and I do feel bad. And that's also bipolar. At first I didn't feel bad at all. I was just like, well, fuck her. Now I feel bad. So, I mean, that's bipolar too. It's don't overestimate the time frame abilities of my feelings. They are like, I feel like doing this, I feel like saying this, I feel like I'm like a baby. And that doesn't justify my own bad behavior. You're right in what you're implying here, which is I should have been nicer. But you're wrong in saying that I was intentionally hurtful. I'm just that stupid regarding that shit. But I shouldn't. I should know better. I can do better. One nice thing about Rachel, I can count on her to always countervalue the FI. And we're back. So what was I doing? Feeling bad about something? That's right. Yes. Now I shall return to feeling bad about something. Ho hum. Yep, I do feel bad about it. I don't know what else to say, though. What else can I say? I feel bad about it now. But
Yeah, I mean that's a human like effect to what I was just saying.
I don't like being mean. Makes me sad, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not a villain. Sometimes I guess I act like one. Well, thanks a lot, Clashing Games. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for holding me accountable. Now,
You know, like,
now you just bummed me out.
and like, I feel like you're like a baby, so I want to like do a rattle thing or like.
Get my attention off of my feelings.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Alec T is here. He's my supervisor.
Yeah.
So
He could possibly help.
he can say, Eric, you're right to feel bad, but you don't need to keep beating yourself up about it too long.
That's true. That's good advice.
5 seconds is long enough. I have plenty of coffee already. I'm just trying to get more coffee because I think, well, that'll get my mind off of this.
I do that too sometimes. I swear, the similarities between us are so funny sometimes. Like a thing that you do, or that I notice about you, like maybe that's a happy thing, but I tend to do it after.
Mm.
That must be an happy thing.
What?
That I'm like copying you.
Oh, well, yeah, you're going to become more like me. I'm going to become a little bit more like you. And we'll mush together over time a bit. But you're going to become more like me than I'm like you because you're FE Tool and I'm FE Third. And, I mean, it's like that's the thing about INFJ. If INFJ SX, they are... Thanks, Alec. I appreciate it. INFJ's SX is a typological completer, right? It's like she's designed in some fashion to complete the ideal significant other, being INFJ and SX. So, and I truly believe I am her ideal significant other and vice versa. And so she's just going to become more ideal over time. Whereas, but I will also continually learn things from her, like as per the story this morning, where, you know, Eric, just stop ignoring NI for a second. Learn something, for God's sakes. I don't have a harmonica, but I could pretend to.
We have a drum.
We do, but I can't find those little hitter things.
Oh, what the F?
I don't know what happened to the
They
hitter
were totally
things.
in there.
I know. Alec T, you did come to the correct conclusion. I'll apologize to her if I ever talk to her. You know.
Yeah.
I will apologize to her. I might even make an apology video at some point. It just says, I'm sorry I was so mean when talking about Joyce Manning. I wish I hadn't been, or something like that. But I don't know if that's going to do any good. I'd be better off if I talk to her again. I'll apologize to her for it in person. You know, I'm not afraid to apologize. That's the thing, is I'm not afraid to approach somebody unbidden and say, hey, I want to talk to you about me fucking up. So, and a lot of people are afraid to do that or unwilling to do that. They're maybe can be held accountable when you push on it, but they don't hold themselves accountable very much. So I think that's one of my strengths in general. It's helped me get through a lot of shit. Is YouTube blocking a lot of chat? Well,
I've noticed that. A lot of what there was a time when I was typing stuff, and for me it would go through, but on your side it was like really lagging.
Oh. I guess they're checking it all for quality assurance, quality control. I mean, the thing is, to the extent that YouTube, any actual human beings are aware of me, and this channel, they find it challenging to know what it is and what to make of it. If there's anybody even aware of it at YouTube, you know, it's hard to say. It could just be a pure algorithm thing, but, you know, I like to imagine that at some point, if a channel has weird enough combination of numbers, and I suspect this channel has a really weird combination of numbers, you know, that somebody probably takes a look at it. Because, like, what is going on over there? Why does this guy have so many videos and this many subs, but not? Because usually you're going to get, there are people out there who put up shit tons of videos about a certain topic. There's this one channel where this guy, he basically apparently has automated some aspects of making videos that just show the text from message boards about tech questions and then titles them that. So basically he's saying if when you Google a tech question, a very specific tech question, you're somebody who's going to click on the YouTube video instead of click on the link to the actual forum where the answer was posted from, or you don't want to do that extra level of research or something, then your very specific tech question will be answered by one of these guys' videos, but it's just you still have to read the answer, you know, it's not explained or anything. Anyway, the point of this is he gets a few views for each one of these videos, and he's got shit tons of videos up there, like hundreds of thousands, if not a million videos, I don't know. And he doesn't have anywhere close to the amount of subscribers that he does videos. So that's one end of the spectrum, right? And then there's some people who have very few videos but a lot of subscribers, because whatever it is they're doing seems to be working really well, and they'll often try to limit the amount of videos they make. Most people who are like that, they have a clear vision of what they're doing, so they're going to be like Mr. Ballin, who always does the same kind of videos and is trying to work the thing that he does that people like. And then you're going to have some people who are maybe all over the place, but then they're probably going to be genuinely all over the place. Whereas this is mostly an MBTI channel, but there's a lot of politics going on around here too. So it's like there are a lot of strange factors about this channel, and the fact that it does so many different things, and the ratio of subs to videos, the durability of subs is probably notable as well. It's like, I think until recently anyway, my subs were way more durable than most people's, because you got to put up with a lot of shit to stay subscribed to me.
So, yes, everything about the channel is so spread out. So now that you've seen Dark and you connect with the German aspect of life, would you still consider yourself transracial?
Oh yeah, I'm still transracial.
Okay, cool.
Because, for one thing, German's not a race, it's a country. Or another thing, I don't care about what I feel intuitively like that. I've already made my arguments and they win, so that's enough. More importantly, I was thinking how, like, Germany in general seems like a very NT culture, whereas Japan seems more like a combination of STP and SFJ. And like Italy seems more like a combination of STP and NFJ. And when Germany went bad for World War II, it was when I think a couple of NFJs captivated the country with their NI. I mean, you might say STJ. I guess I get where you're going there with that, clashing games, but it's because you're thinking about the country and the culture rather than the art. I guess the art's very NTP, NTJ.
Yeah, NTJ.
Like, you know, the philosophy. They think Heidegger, Goethe, Wittgenstein. You know, America is very SFP. SFP, SFJ. You know?
Well, I'm the supervisor of it.
Yeah, you are. Our cognitive function is telling us that we are producing reality and absorbing that same reality. I mean, I think cognitive functions are predicated on the notion that a reality is an expression of being through time. Yeah, I mean, America, it's hard for me to do America because I see America's in all of its diversity more than I do some country where I don't live, you know. I'm sure every country has got lots of diverse elements to it, typologically. But, you know, Japan seems so clear in its expression of a culture and so homogenous in its expression of a culture. It seems easier to do Japan than other countries that may be a little bit less homogenous, you know. The whole Eastern FE, respect, kowtow.
Oh, no.
I'm so sorry. Try your best.
Yes.
Like, it's.
Give it your best.
But there's also like an SI rejecting component to it as well, with the work forever, you know, never need to sleep, eat, or drink anything.
Oh, that's why food is such like an excitement for them, because they forget it all the time.
Yeah, it's like Japan wants them to be both SI polar and then SI dom in succession. Like, I need no rest, food, or drink while I'm working for the team. And then when I sit down to eat, it's like Rachel would just, oh, so good. Oh, the flavors of Japan are wonderful, you know? So it's they're putting a ridiculous amount of FE pressure on people because they've got to fake it one side or the other. No matter what, they're going to have to fake it.
That's why some of the, you know, like, it's such an interesting country. I mean, like, the youngsters, like, rejected it for a while and became, like, these, like, techno.
Well, okay, and I don't think there's any clear typological link to genetics because it's true that both of my parents had SI in their stack and NE in their stack, but they were both sensors, and my dad is TEFI. Rachel's family, her mom's ESTJ, her dad's ENFP, she's INFJ, her sister's ISFJ, and her brother's ENFJ. So, two parents with no FE made 3 kids that are all FE. One ego block. So, you know. Also, I've typed I typed I've typed families on a couple of occasions before. One time this ENTJ dude, or maybe it was ENFJ, I don't remember. He had him, his wife, and his 2 kids each typed all in one big session. It took like 2 hours. Or maybe 3 hours or something. And it was similar to Rachel's situation. The parents were yeah, and the kids were opposite. How's Rachel, and did the medical people finally figure it out? No, but we have a 28th appointment, February 28th, January 28th appointment for the neurologist.
Yes, that's what she said. We haven't got a call back yet, so
Right.
Technically we have.
We're still waiting on confirmation on that.
16th.
Technically, we have it for the 16th.
Yes.
That's not what the problem said. But I agree that one can infer that. But that's still not what the problem said, okay? I don't know. I'm completely unable to tell you. Because the other thing is, I've known identical twins in my life before that were definitely different types. I didn't know about typology at the time I knew the identical twins, but looking back on it, it's clear that they were different types.
That's so cool.
And yet they were identical twins. So it's not, I'm at a loss to explain it. I don't know.
I knew a pair of identical twins who were exactly the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like same personality type?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Because the 2 I knew, they were different. No, the problem was this, and this is the problem with how you're thinking about it, Rain. You need to break down statements into 1, 2, 3 to do a proof. So it would be like this. Statement 1 is if P or Q, then S. Statement 2. Q or not Q. All right. So the thing is, we can only conclude if P then S. Q or not Q doesn't tell us any more information. Right? So if P or Q then S includes the information if P then S. It also includes the information if Q then S. No, well, the thing is, okay, and there probably is some linkage to some sort of brain activity. No, you're wrong, Rain. I did put it that way. That is how I put it. You're already doing it. You're already a step ahead from how it was initially presented. Now, I'm not saying that what you presented there isn't implied by what I asked. It is implied by what I asked, but that's not how I asked it. Okay? Because I said if P or Q, then S, and Q or not Q. The point is that the tautology Q or not Q adds no additional information to the question. That's the whole fucking point. And the point I'm also saying is that if you have an or statement, like if P or Q, then S, the or statement is the first half of a larger statement. It's not a statement by itself, right? There are 2 kinds of rules in conditional logic. Rules of inference and rules of replacement. Things that can be replaced means you can replace the or statement with, say, a negated conditional, but it would still have to be in the same place in the conditional statement. You can't you can't treat it as though it weren't the antecedent to the conditional, which is what you're trying to do. The tautology adds no information. And that's the point. Even if you get rid of the Q, it still adds no information. You already know if P then S when you know if P or Q then S. And you already know if Q then S. And you already know Q or not Q, even though it's not stated directly. Even if it is stated directly, even if it weren't stated directly, you'd already know, because you can do that. That's one of the things you can do as a rule of inference. Well, that's if you have one of them by itself. So it's like having if P or Q then S is not the same thing as having P or Q. You might have neither. Okay, well, it doesn't matter is the point, right? Let's say you're right. I already conceded that what you're suggesting is implied by what I said, okay? Sure, I'll make you a moderator. Put the link if you want, I don't care. So let's say you're right. Let's say you're right about how I asked the question. It's still, like I said, the issue is the same. The issue is the same. You're just on step 2 of it. But you say, no, you're on step 1 of it. Okay, fine. You're on step 1 of it. I'll concede the point. I don't want to watch your link. It's a waste of time, because even if you're right, it's irrelevant to what we're saying. How can you tell the difference between the ignoring function and the polar function, since they're both the weaker than the inferior function? Well, as discussed in a video the other day, using terms like stronger and weaker with cognitive functions is a fundamental mistake, because you might say somebody tests better on the testable aspect of a given attentional manner, but it's incorrect to say that they're strong or weak, since they instead play roles of either instrumentality or absoluteness in terms of value, and they play a role, we can talk about, we would measure them in terms of amount of time attended via a given attentional manner as a proportion of the total amount of time attended, rather than thinking that in any given moment of attention, a given function can be stronger or weaker. It doesn't work like that. It either is or isn't, right? Yes, you can conclude if P then S. But you already have that information in the statement if P or Q then S. That's the point I'm trying to make. If P or Q then S means if P then S and if Q then S. What's the difference between the instrumental and absolute value when it comes to functions? Well, it's as simple as means versus end. So for me, extroverted intuition is an absolute value. Why am I talking on the internet right now? Because I was listening to myself talk on the internet, and then I got bored with that and decided I wanted to talk new talk on the internet. And that's the only reason. It's its own end in itself, right? In contrast, TI is just an instrumental value. I don't necessarily want to argue about shit. I don't necessarily really care if you're right or wrong about stuff, but I find myself using it to deal with all the problems in the world anyway, right? So it's my operational value. Extroverted feeling is the thing I need to keep in mind, or lest my operational value do more harm to me than good. Like I said, okay, I want to clarify something, Brain. I've never claimed that I addressed the question correctly in the video. Okay? I'm talking about our conversation in the comments after the fact. I'm not sure what I said about it after I asked the question in the video. So I'm not sure if my answer to the question after I asked it in the video is correct or not. Let's be clear on that. But the answer I provided in the comments to you is correct. But the answer in the video may be correct or not. I'm not sure what I say in the video after I ask the question. I think I expressed confusion about it, is what I think I do. But before you get any further in this inquiry, Rain, have you already looked into the difference between rules of inference, rules of replacement, and what comprises a statement? Because that will probably resolve your confusion on this. If I have a conditional statement, then whatever is the antecedent to the conditional is not a statement in and of itself. It's part of a larger statement. And that's where the confusion is coming into place here. You can do rules of replacement kind of work on stuff that are part of a larger statement, but you can't do rules of inference stuff on stuff that's part of a larger statement. I mean, the thing is, Clashing Games, you're saying I'm obsessed with TI. I just explained to you what you say you don't understand. It's my operational value. I don't really care about whether you're right or wrong, but it's operationally how I make sure that my words universalize. So, in other words, because of my personality type, the only way I can maximally attain who I am in this world is to actualize externally. And because of the nature of my personality type, I actualize externally by saying correct words or by saying funny, likable words. Those TIFE, right? Since my operational value is correctness, I'm going to make sure that my own words and everybody else's words are correct, because in that case, I can concretely establish the value of what I'm saying. If nothing else, at least it's correct, right? This is what it means to be NETI. Yes, that's true. If the antecedent is always true, then we can conclude the answer. That's true. But there's no reason to think that P is true based on what you said, is there? If P or Q or not Q, then S leaves us with if P then S. There is no reason to conclude P. That's the problem. You keep thinking that you've got P somehow. You don't have it. You don't get it from what you're doing. That you can't conclude that from what you're doing. Well, Inky Pinky, the thing is, it doesn't work like that. It's not that kind of test. So you either test. It's part of a protocol of testings that are used to determine whether somebody's extroverted intuition polar or not. Okay, so they might test positive for extroverted intuition polar or negative for extroverted intuition polar, but we can't reliably say that they're going to perform better or worse if they're in the not positive for extroverted intuition polar category. It doesn't work like that, because it's not a matter of strength. We have to factor in the absolute or instrumentality of the value and the agent subject object distinction, which is to say, the reason my NI is ignoring is because I'm an action type. I'm an extroverted intuitor. That implies that instead of knowing first, I take action that's supposed to resonate with what other people know. However, in order to do that successfully, I have to have a good sense of what resonates as NI true, while at the same time, I'm an action type. So it means I ignore NI in its native receptive capacity, but not that I'm unable to employ things that resonate with introverted intuition as an action type. So in some sense, I have very strong NI, and in some sense, I have very weak NI, because it's silly to talk about it in those terms without acknowledging that it's determinate by agent, subject, object, and by instrumentality and absoluteness. then why are you concluding S? Then why are you concluding S if you're not concluding P? If you agree that we don't have P, then why does if P then S mean S? There's only one kind of or in conditional logic. It's either, or both. Those three conditions are true in the truth table, and neither is false in the truth table. Just to be clear. Remember, I did teach logic, and again, Rain, did you look into the question of what comprises a statement? And there's not that many of them. There's only like, I don't know, 30 or something total of rules of inference and rules of replacement, maybe fewer than that even. Look up the distinction between rules of inference and rules of replacement, and this will clarify for you what the problem is. There is no regular or irregular or in logic. The truth table for or is distinct and specific and nothing else. It's TTTF. For fuck's sake, guys, look on the internet for a second. Google rules of inference and rules of replacement. Instead of thinking you're going to figure it out yourself without knowing anything. Yes, but that doesn't mean S. It doesn't mean S. I mean, clashing games, that's why it's my operational value. I also don't think it's especially interesting, but I have taught the class, and I'm trying to explain something that's very straightforward, and Rain is being stubbornly, persistently stupid about it for no reason. It's definitely not obvious to you, clashing games. If it's obvious to you, then what? I mean, if P, what's that line you put there? Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you're saying. Never mind. My bad. I mistook your unusual use of symbols for idiocy. My bad. No. Q or not Q are not both sufficient conditions for implying S. That's where you're fucking wrong. Listen to me. It is not the case that if P or Q then S and Q or not Q creates a sufficient condition for S. It is not the case. You are wrong. Stop arguing it. For fuck's sake, and learn something. You have to say, statements need to be distinguished into 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you try to prove something, you have to break a argument down into the distinct statements that have a specific, sometimes a single statement might be comprised of multiple conditionals. It's still a single statement and needs to be treated as such. And how you treat it as such is determined by whether you're using rules of inference or replacement. Now, fucking listen to me. Before you say anything else about it, Google it. Rules of inference and rules of replacement. Eric, stop being so triggered. It's funny to watch. If it's funny to watch, why do you want it to stop? You don't like laughter? Are you anti-humor? Are you Clashing Games, the anti-humor downer time pants guy, or what? No, I'm not saying that, Jager. Oh, I'm saying, well, in both cases, you might get somebody who's unable to produce one at first. In the former case, the INFJ, with enough pushing on the matter, then you could see them produce some inky pinkies. It's unlikely you ever get more than one out of an ISFP. So it's not quite as plug A in, get B result as you want it to be. There's still some art to it, as I've explained to people in the past. It's better than anything else by a large margin. Not just better than anything else in typology, but better than anything else in psychology. But it's not perfect, and there is still some art to it. So you've got to do a package of NE tests and look at the totality of the results. And it becomes pretty clear. You could go through, if you wanted to be serious about it, and find examples of ISFP test results and compare them against each other in the body of accumulated typing sessions that I published, if you wanted to, and see. And you'd note that you'd probably be able to find some gray there and say, well, Eric, it looks like, well, that's true, because like I said, there's still a little bit of art to it. It's not all science. No. ENTPs do not get triggered when someone disagrees with them. I get triggered when somebody disagrees with me and they're wrong. That needs to be noted. It's not, I love it when people correct me when they are correct, because that helps me be less wrong. What I hate is when people are wrong and stubborn about it. In no way, shape, or form did the way I constructed that question present a scenario in which if either Q or not Q, then S. In no way, shape, or form was that the case. So Rain's just both wrong and stubborn about it. That's triggering because he's trying to correct me, and that's fine if I'm wrong, but if I'm not wrong, he needs to recognize, oh, it's time for me to be corrected. And so he's not doing that part, and so that's the problem. What if they were wrong, though? Well, like I said, for me, extroverted intuition is an end in itself, talking things out, right? Introvert thinking is my operational value, which means I'm trying to operationally use words to mean specific things and mean concrete things and have that language be purposeful, right? Okay, now you're just quibbling. Rain, stop, please. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's ridiculous. I've explained it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Well, my point is, he's trying to treat, and this, you have to look at there's no point for us to be even having this conversation. You need to look at the common exchange. This is why it's frustrating for me, right? Because I addressed the whole thing in the common exchange, and you can see very clearly what both of us said in the common exchange, and there's no he said, she said, whatever shit, right? That's where it's clear, where our words are written down. And now here we are quibbling about whether Rain said I said this or that or the other thing. Rain was wrong in his understanding of the problem. I clarified it in the comments. And he persisted in saying he still thought he was right, which is fine. I clarified it again. At this point, he's either choosing not to understand or choosing to reframe the original common exchange. Now, you want to go back to the source material of the video, but I don't even remember the video, what exactly I said. But I do know that the common exchange was something that we can specifically articulate. You were wrong in that common exchange. I was correct in my explanation of it. So that's all we need to say. I didn't say SI has anything to do with Inky Pinkies. Just, will everybody stop? Stop fucking being annoying. I don't want to argue. He didn't say anything mean to me.
Oh, the doctor.
All right.
Hello?
Hi,
Hi.
I'm calling back from Dr. Moshi's office regarding your schedule. The doctor said we can go ahead and see you Friday, January 28th at 2:30.
Okay, we'll be there. Let me check my calendar real quick. We'll be there. I'll move anything if I have to. But can you? So we should go there.
Yes.
Okay, so we should go there. Okay, yeah, we'll be there at 2:30 on Friday, the 28th.
I'm sorry, yeah. The doctor did say FaceTime visit could work.
Oh, FaceTime.
Oh, okay, so cool. Well, so do you guys use like Luminella or something?
So it's either FaceTime or Zoom, actually.
Okay. So will you send us a Zoom link?
Yes, so during the appointment time, the doctor will go ahead and send you a link.
To Rachel's email or what?
He either does it just through text or email.
Okay, cool. So I'll just put it down 2:30, Friday the 28th, remote doctor visit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, good. We got our neurology appointment moved up to this upcoming Friday, just a few days from now. That makes me very happy. That.
All we had
Yeah.
to do is a little bit of waiting.
Yeah. So okay. Because I obviously whatever happens, Rachel and I are rock solid good. But at the same time, I want to make sure that she, to the extent that it is at all possible for her to return to her pre-injury state, that she's empowered to do so, And I continue to believe that this is not permanent because it's not constant. Right. So in other words, it's like how it expresses changes. Sometimes she feels more tingly here, more tingly there, whatever, which suggests that it's subject to change, which means it's not permanent, hopefully, And she's definitely better than she was at first. But nevertheless, it's very important to me that like we have a clear narrative regardless of what's going on, and in the absence of clear narrative, I get frustrated, and I want to rant about things.
Hi, Phoebe.
Can I do you a favor? It depends what kind of favor it is.
Yes.
Is it a sexual favor? Then no.
What a gentleman.
I am a gentle man.
You are.
That's why they entrust me with handling fragile objects. No, I can't. Clashing games. That sounds like it. That's what I mean by TI being an operational value. I don't like particularly listening to wrong shit and correcting it. I don't seek it out. It tends to make me mad because it's not sustaining operationally as I expect it to. But I don't really, it's like, it's not important to me that it be corrected unless it's on the table in front of me, right? The reason I correct people around here all the time is because they're leaving trash on the table. And so I don't like to see trash on my table, so I clean it up. But I don't feel that way about other people's tables. I don't know. He's the atheist guy, right? I think I actually have a video about him. If you channel search my channel, his name, I think you'll find I have a video about him. I think I talk shit, of course, you know. Of course I do. I'm like the Jeff Shaw of INTPs. That's all I do. I talk shit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have a video on him already. In which I shake my fist at him and say, "You're so wrong." Because that's what I do. That's how I roll.
That is how you roll.
How I ain't bringing nothing to the table when I'm the table. Well, because you're then the thing that stuff is brought to. That's why.
And that's why.
Good question, though, Andre Z. Good
It
question.
really is.
So we're going to wrap this exciting, thrilling, delightful, pleasing, tasty, delicious, wonderful, moist live stream up in a little bit. Because we need to get weed, and it probably wouldn't hurt us to get some lunch as well. Well, he had good cause to want to post a link, okay? Going to unmoderate him now? He said he had a link that was going to prove me wrong. At that point, I have no choice but to make him a moderator, okay? I have no choice. If he's gonna cite a specific amount of proof that proves me wrong in what I'm saying, then I am obligated to let him put the link there. It's nice and specific, and he deserved the ability to prove me wrong. You know, I had invited that by saying, I said meow. If he's got proof that I didn't say meow, that I said something else, then fine. I'm busted, and there's nothing I can do about that. And that's fine. You know.
You got Pluto, Leo, and 12 or the 12th house.
A dozen dead lions. That's what that means.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Okay, and you're talking crazy talk. Why would you suggest we quit weed? That's like saying, why don't you quit breathing? Or why don't you quit loving? Okay, and I got an idea. Why don't you quit loving? Quit loving. Instead, take Uber. I mean, I agree Rain's a genius. I have no disputing that. That's why I said when Rain was being dumb, I said he was willfully, intentionally, purposefully being dumb. I didn't say that he was dumb. You know? The point is, if you have a conditional statement, Brain, it's if P or Q, then S. You can add as many tautologies as you want, and it doesn't add any new information. And it's as simple as that. If you don't get that, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, my distaste for subject matter won't decrease. It's concrete, cut, and dry. If in fact I said the question a specific way that justified your you're thinking that one could conclude something that you couldn't conclude from it, then you're wrong. If we're just in a miscommunication here, then it's just a miscommunication. If I said it wrong on the video, then I just said it wrong on the video. But what I'm saying here, everything I've told you about logic and the way it works is correct. So instead of trying to argue whether or not something I once said was wrong, learn from what I'm saying. Best way to know if you're an ENTP, NE versus SE, I mean, it depends, I guess, on what you're going back and forth between. If you're going back and forth between ENTP and ESTP, then yeah, I think Rain's one of the smartest people around here, for sure. That's why I find this conversation frustrating, because this is the sort of question about which Rain and I should never be in disagreement. One of us might be momentarily confused, but ultimately we shouldn't persist in disagreement because there's a clear-cut right and wrong answer to it, and there's not any dispute as to what's the right or wrong answer to something like this, you know. So he and I should not be in persistent disagreement about something. And so it's obviously like there's some sort of whatever going on here that's making it difficult to communicate. And it's annoying. Because it doesn't matter. And I'm in kind of, like I said at the beginning, oh, that'd be very TE of him, Jack Torrance. He might have meant that. I don't think that was Rain's intention. I'm quite confident it was not Rain's intention. Lift what? I have to lift things all the time. Like when I blow my nose, first I have to lift up this paper towels. Then I have to lift my arm to tear a piece of it off. How much more lifting do you want me to do? Okay, it's enough lifting. What are we lifting things for? Lifting things just for the sake of lifting things? He's correct though about what, Lee Man? Like, this is why this is so annoying. Simply put the statement there that you say he's correct about. If he's correct about it, it's a correct. It's not him or me being correct, right? There's a logic problem that I'm saying is if P or Q, then S, and Q or not Q. Rain says, I didn't position the question correctly the first time. I didn't actually say those words. I said something else. Okay, maybe I did. But he's then said, if P or Q or not Q, then S. Which is in fact I mean, if I said that, if I put the tautology in the as part of an or statement in the antecedent of the conditional, then yeah, you could conclude S. I'm pretty sure I did not put that tautology in the antecedent of the conditional, but instead after it. Now, if I did in fact put the tautology in the antecedent of the conditional, then Rain would be correct. And if that's what the video shows, then Rain's correct. But then then if he is correct about what I said in the video, then he's incorrect about what he said in the comment, because that was not what he indicated in the comment. So, you know, the point is, why are we still fucking talking about it, Lee Man? You say he's correct, but you have no idea what you're talking about. You don't even know what he's correct about. I mean, that's the bottom line, is obviously, if you put a tautology as part of a disjunction in the first part of a conditional, you can conclude the antecedent, no problem, every time, no matter what. That's true of any tautology that's that functions as the antecedent to a conditional. Then you might not as well not even have the conditional. So if I did phrase it that way, I obviously misspoke, because there'd be no reason to put the tautology in the first part of the conditional. It wouldn't be an interesting problem at all. Well, that's possible. Legends Fall. It's possible he's an ENFJ, I guess, but I don't agree his TI is too non-existent. I think it expresses kind of haphazardly in conjunction with his NI. Okay, well, I gotta go. It's time for us to go to run a couple of errands and such. So, you've never heard so many virgin words in one sentence? Oh, virgin words, mean words you've never heard before.
Virgin.
Okay, well, I respect the purity of your vocabulary virginity and will not impose any further penal probings upon it. I won't pop any more of your vocabulary cherries. But for now, I bid you all adieu. And thank you for being here on this, yet again, thrilling, monumentally thrilling episode of Talking with Fans People.